Welcome to our deep dive into the ideas of Juan Weigen. We're going to be taking excerpts from his book, She in 2020s. It's Reasoning with the World.
Yeah.
Intellectuals of the 2020s in English.
No, yeah.
To explore some really fascinating ideas about how to navigate today's world.
Yeah.
We'll be covering societal trends, education, history, and even what it takes to be successful in the 21st century. Are you ready to get your intellectual on?
Absolutely. What I find so intriguing about Juan Weigen's work is that he tackles these big, complex issues with a blend of scientific thinking and social commentary.
Yeah.
It's not just about understanding the world, it's about figuring out how to thrive within it.
One of the things that really struck me was how the book dives right into these three massive trends that are shaping the 21st century. Things are getting increasingly complex. The way we work is changing drastically. And even though material wealth is increasing overall, the gap between the haves and have-nots just keeps widening. It feels like we're in this constant state of flux, doesn't it?
It does indeed. And to illustrate this idea of complexity, Juan Weigen uses this brilliant analogy. A simple pencil.
What?
Think about it. A pencil seems pretty basic, right?
Yeah.
But the process of creating one actually requires this massive network of specialized knowledge and skills.
Oh, yeah.
From mining the graphite to manufacturing the wood and then assembling it all.
It's like this hidden web of interconnectedness that we often take for granted.
Exactly.
So even something as simple as a pencil reveals how interdependent and specialized our world has become. And the book argues that traditional ways of thinking and those simplistic solutions we often reach for just aren't enough anymore.
Exactly. That's where the concept of the modern intellectual comes in individuals who can embrace nuance, connect the dots, and think critically to navigate this new reality.
Okay, so we need to become more intellectual in our approach to things, but what does that even look like in a practical sense?
Well, for one thing, the book challenges us to rethink our relationship with experts. There's this hilarious example where Juan Weigen describes a scientist on a talk show ranting about environmental issues.
Okay.
Blaming everything on energy CEOs and throwing around terms like crimes against humanity.
Oh, wow.
you know?
Do you think blindly trusting experts like that is actually backfiring on us? I mean, it's tempting to just accept what they say, especially when things seem so complex.
It can be, especially when those experts present themselves as having all the answers.
Yeah.
Instead, the book encourages us to become more like foxes.
Okay.
Remember that analogy from Tetlock's research? Hedgehogs have one big idea and stick to it, while foxes consider various perspectives and adapt their thinking based on the evidence.
Okay.
You know.
So how do you develop that fox mindset?
Well,
The book suggests adopting a multidisciplinary approach, kind of like how the liberal arts encourage you to explore different fields of knowledge. It even suggests thinking of economic models as fables rather than rigid laws.
that's such an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, by viewing them as fables, we gain a more flexible understanding of how those models work and, their limitations.
It reminds me of that saying, all models are wrong, but some are useful. So instead of looking for one universal truth, we should be looking for the right model to fit the specific situation.
Precisely. It's about developing that mental agility and not getting trapped by a single way of seeing things.
Right.
And this leads us to another concept the book explores, wicked problems,
Okay.
or odo in Chinese.
Okay.
These are problems that are complex, interconnected, and resistant to easy solutions.
The book uses some pretty heavy examples to illustrate this income inequality in the U.S. and global warming, for instance.
Right.
These aren't issues that can be fixed with a quick Band-Aid solution. What are some wicked problems you face in your own life? I bet you've got a few swirling around right now.
We all do.
Yeah.
The key takeaway here is that wicked problems require long-term thinking, adaptability, and a deep understanding of all the different stakeholders involved. There's rarely a single right answer, and solutions often have unintended consequences.
It makes you realize that simple solutions are often too good to be true, right?
Yeah.
But this leads to another interesting point. The book challenges this whole notion of enduring hardship builds character. I mean, haven't we all heard that one before?
Yeah, it's a common belief, but Juan Weigen argues that it's a misattribution of cause and effect. Growth comes from feedback and deliberate practice, not the suffering itself.
The book even highlights research on the negative impact of chronic stress on our health. For example, there was a study looking at mothers caring for chronically ill children.
Right.
The longer they were in that stressful situation, the more their telomeres, those protective caps on the ends of our chromosomes, shortened, which is linked to faster aging.
Yeah, it's a stark reminder that hardship doesn't automatically make us stronger. In fact, it can be incredibly detrimental to our well-being, especially if it's prolonged and without any support or positive outcomes. And there's another fascinating perspective on this. The philosopher Ferraccioli argues that children have an inherent right to a carefree life.
Oh, interesting.
And it kind of highlights the difference, between how adults and children perceive hardship. Adults can kind of understand, like, ideally, the potential long-term benefits of going through something tough.
Mm-hmm.
But children just aren't equipped for that kind of rationalization.
It makes you wonder if we're sometimes too quick to push kids into difficult situations, thinking it'll, build their character without considering their developmental stage and all that.
Yeah, it's a valid point. Maybe we need to rethink our approach to childhood and create more space for joy and exploration.
Okay, so maybe hardship isn't the key to success. But this leads to another provocative question the book raises. If successful people are often unethical, why even bother being good? It points to this lack of evidence that ethical behavior actually leads to worldly success. It's a bit disheartening, isn't it?
It can be, especially when we see examples of people seemingly getting ahead by cutting corners or bending the rules.
Right. It makes you question whether it's even worth trying to do the right thing when everyone else seems to be getting ahead by doing the opposite. But then the book brings up Stephen Covey's principle-centered approach from his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Covey argues that true success comes from aligning your actions with your values and having a strong personal mission.
It's an interesting contrast, isn't it? On one hand, we have this idea that unethical behavior can lead to success, and on the other hand, we have Covey arguing for the importance of principles and integrity. It's like two completely different paths.
Exactly. So do you focus on doing good or getting ahead? And to make things even more complicated, the book highlights research by psychologist Paul Piff, suggesting that higher socioeconomic status is actually correlated with lower ethical behavior.
There's a study Piff conducted where he looked at whether drivers would yield to pedestrians at a crosswalk.
Okay.
And the results showed that drivers of luxury cars were significantly less likely to stop than those driving less expensive vehicles.
Wow. That's a pretty clear demonstration of how our position in society can influence our actions. And the book mentions another study where students self-reported on their unethical behavior, things like cheating on exams or lying to get ahead.
Yeah.
The findings showed that students from higher socioeconomic backgrounds were more likely to engage in those behaviors. It's like, the more we have, the less likely we are to play by the rules.
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? But the book offers a resolution to this apparent paradox by introducing this concept of high-performance contrarianism.
Okay, break that down for me. What is high-performance contrarianism?
Well, it essentially means acting from a sense of duty and free will, not for external rewards or recognition.
Okay.
It's about doing what you believe is right, even if it doesn't guarantee conventional success.
So it's like being intrinsically motivated to do good, even if it means going against the grain. It reminds me of that anecdote in the book about the math professor who advises his student to follow the lead of the most brilliant minds in their field, even if it means challenging the status quo.
Exactly. It's about pursuing excellence and truth for their own sake, not just for the sake of personal gain. Now, shifting gears a bit, the book also delves into this fascinating world of relationships, both romantic and professional.
Okay, let's talk relationships. The book opens with this very relatable question. If a romantic relationship is struggling, is it the partner, yourself, or something else? Haven't we all pondered that one at some point?
We have, and what's so refreshing about Juan Weigand's approach is that he brings in the lens of relationship science, a field that uses rigorous research methods to study how we connect with each other.
It's like taking a scientific approach to love and connection. So what insights does relationship science offer?
Well, there's this groundbreaking study that analyzed data from 43 different studies involving over 11,000 couples.
Wow.
And the findings are pretty surprising.
Okay.
It turns out that the qualities of your partner actually matter very little when it comes to relationship satisfaction.
Wait, what? You're telling me who you choose to be with doesn't really matter. That goes against everything we've been told.
It does, doesn't it? But the research is quite clear. Partner qualities only account for about 5% of the variance in relationship satisfaction.
Wow. Right.
Individual qualities like your personality traits and attachment style matter more, accounting for about 19%. But the biggest factor by far is the dynamics within the relationship itself.
So it's not so much about finding the right person as it is about creating the right dynamic with that person.
Exactly. The research shows that relational dynamics, things like communication patterns, conflict resolution styles, and shared values account for a whopping 45% of the variance in relationship satisfaction.
So it was more about how you interact and connect with each other than it is about finding someone who checks all the boxes on your ideal partner list. What are some of the key qualities or dynamics that contribute to successful relationships, according to this research?
Well, one of the most important personal qualities is your partner's responsiveness, how quickly and readily they respond to your needs and emotions. In terms of relational dynamics, the ability to effectively manage conflict and communicate openly and respectfully are crucial.
It makes sense, right? If you feel heard and understood by your partner, and you can work through disagreements constructively, that's going to create a much stronger foundation for the relationship.
Absolutely. And what's even more intriguing is that the book applies these principles not just to romantic relationships, but also to team dynamics and individual success. It stresses the importance of shaping your environment, whether that's fostering a positive work culture or actively working to improve the dynamics within your personal relationships.
So it's like proactively building relationships, not just letting them happen by chance. And this leads us to another fascinating concept the book explores, the power of stars. Remember that anecdote about the 2019 FIBA World Cup?
Yeah.
China really struggled without Yao Ming, and even the U.S. team faltered without their top players.
Yeah, it perfectly illustrates what the book calls a zeroth order truth. These are truths so obvious that we rarely even state them, like stars are really useful.
Sometimes the simplest truths are the most profound, right? So how does the book back up this idea that stars are so important?
Well, it highlights research showing the undeniable impact of star players in various sports leagues. For example, a study by economists David Barry, Martin Schmidt, and Stacy Brook looked at the NBA and found that individual players have a much greater impact on a team's success than previously thought.
Wow.
They found that the top players in the league could single-handedly account for as much as 60% of a team's wins.
It's like having that one exceptional player can elevate the entire team's performance. And the book points out that even the best coaches are limited without, top-tier talent to work with.
Exactly. Think about Phil Jackson, arguably the greatest coach in NBA history. He won all 11 of his championships with teams that featured superstar players like Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Kobe Bryant, and Shaquille O'Neal.
It makes you wonder how much of his success was due to his coaching brilliance and how much was due to the talent he had at his disposal. But the book argues that this star principle goes beyond sports. Think about star employees boosting productivity in tech companies, or the impact of academic superstars on entire departments.
There's some fascinating research on this. For example, a study by economists Pierre Azoulay, Joshua Graf Zivin, and Jilan Wang found that a single superstar professor can increase a department's research output by a staggering 54%.
That's incredible. It's like that one exceptional person can create this ripple effect that benefits everyone around them. But isn't there a risk of relying too heavily on stars? What happens if they leave or burn out?
It's a valid concern. The book acknowledges that while stars can have a transformative impact, it's also important to build systems and structures that support and nurture talent across all levels.
So it's not just about finding and recruiting stars. It's also about creating an environment where everyone can thrive and contribute their unique skills and talents.
Precisely. And this brings us to another point the book explores, the idea of signals and score inflation. Remember that hypothetical we started with about giving high school juniors a surprise college entrance exam before they've had a chance to cram?
Yes, it seems like a much fairer way to assess their true potential, would you say?
It raises some interesting questions about how we measure success and potential. The book connects this to the concept of search engine optimization, where websites manipulate their content to rank higher in search results. It's like we're optimizing ourselves to game the system.
So it's not just about being good at something, it's also about being good at making it look like you're good at something.
Exactly. And the book argues that this optimization phenomenon can actually mask true potential.
It makes you think about the purpose of standardized tests, like the Gaokao in China. Are they truly measuring innate ability, or are they rewarding those who are best at playing the game?
Yeah, it's a crucial question, and it challenges this assumption that these tests are objective measures of merit. The book acknowledges that while the Gaokao is a valuable signal, it might not accurately reflect a student's potential for success in specific fields like scientific research or creative endeavors.
It's like we're so focused on measuring what's easy to measure that we're missing out on those other harder to quantify qualities that might be even more important in the long run.
Exactly. It's a reminder that we need to be more critical of these signals and recognize their limitations.
So maybe it's time to rethink how we measure success and talent, both in education and in other areas of life. But this all ties back to that concept of the modern intellectual that the book keeps emphasizing. What does it really mean to be a modern intellectual in today's world?
Well, it's not just about being smart or knowledgeable.
Right.
It's about using your intellect to engage with the world in a meaningful way.
Right.
It's about recognizing complexity, embracing diverse perspectives, and being willing to challenge assumptions.
So it's like being a lifelong learner, always curious, always seeking out new information and new ways of understanding things.
Exactly. And it's about having the courage to think for yourself, even when it means going against the grain.
Mhm.
The book emphasizes that the true mark of a modern intellectual is the ability to reason independently and make decisions based on evidence and logic rather than blindly following the crowd.
It's like that quote from the book about high-performance contrarianism, doing what you believe is right, even if it's not the easy or popular choice.
Precisely. And this ties into the book's critique of traditional social structures.
Yeah.
It argues that in a world that's becoming increasingly complex and interconnected, we need to move beyond those old ways of thinking and relating to each other.
Like the example about trust in strangers.
Right.
If we're going to solve global problems like climate change or inequality, we need to be able to collaborate with people from all walks of life, even those who are different from us.
Absolutely. And this requires a shift in mindset, a willingness to step outside of our comfort zones and embrace the unknown. The book suggests that this is where education plays a vital role.
Okay.
It's not just about acquiring knowledge, it's about developing the critical thinking skills and adaptability necessary to thrive in a constantly changing world.
So it's like the book's emphasis on becoming foxes rather than hedgehogs. We need to be able to see the world from multiple perspectives, not just through the lens of our own limited experience.
Right, and this is where the book's insights on building relationships become so crucial.
Yeah.
It's not enough to simply surround yourself with talented people. You need to actively cultivate those connections,
Right.
foster a sense of trust and shared purpose, and create an environment where everyone can thrive.
It's like the difference between having a team of all-stars and having a team that actually works together effectively.
Right.
Individual talent is important, but it's the relationships and dynamics within the group that ultimately determine success.
Exactly. And this brings us to another key takeaway from the book: the importance of recognizing and empowering stars. Whether it's in sports, business, or academia, the research clearly shows that having those exceptional individuals can make a huge difference.
It's like the rock star principle in programming. Those top performers are so much more productive than average programmers that they can literally transform entire projects.
Yeah.
And the book argues that China needs to do a better job of attracting and nurturing these stars if it wants to compete on a global stage.
And it's not just about finding them, it's about creating an environment where they can thrive. Remember that study about the superstar professor?
Yes.
It wasn't just his own research output that increased, it was the entire department's productivity that went up.
So it's like a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
Having those stars can inspire and motivate everyone around them to do their best work.
Absolutely. And it challenges this notion that we often hear that everyone is equal, that anyone can achieve anything with enough hard work. The reality is that some people are simply more talented than others, and those exceptional individuals can have an outsized impact on the world.
It makes you think about how we often try to downplay the importance of talent. We talk about leveling the playing field or giving everyone a chance. But maybe we should be focusing more on identifying and nurturing those who have the potential to truly excel.
Yeah, it's a fascinating question, isn't it? And it ties into the book's broader message about embracing complexity and challenging assumptions. Perhaps the path to progress lies not in trying to make everyone the same, but in recognizing and celebrating those differences that make us unique.
Okay, so we've explored a lot of ground here. Societal trends, the nature of expertise, the myth of enduring hardship, the tension between doing good and getting ahead, the power of relationships, the impact of stars, and the limitations of signals and score inflation. It's a lot to digest.
It certainly is. But what I find most compelling about this book is that it doesn't offer any easy answers. It presents us with a series of thought-provoking questions and challenges us to grapple with the complexities of the modern world.
So it's not a blueprint for success. It's more like a toolkit for thinking.
Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
what makes it so valuable.
Yeah.
It encourages us to become more informed, more discerning, and ultimately more capable of navigating the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead.
And that's what makes this deep dive so rewarding. It's not just about learning facts. It's about developing a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. It's about becoming those modern intellectuals that Juan Weigand talks about, individuals equipped to reason with the world and navigate its complexities. And as we wrap up our deep dive into his ideas, there's one final thought-provoking question that keeps swirling in my mind. We've talked about the importance of building those strong relationships and the undeniable impact of stars in various fields. This makes me wonder, are those two concepts connected? Can fostering a strong collaborative environment actually help cultivate and empower the stars within our teams, companies, and even society as a whole? What do you think?
It's a fascinating question. Think about it. When you create a space where everyone feels valued, where collaboration is encouraged, and where individual strengths are celebrated, wouldn't that be the perfect breeding ground for stars to emerge and shine?
It makes sense, right? It's like creating fertile soil for those star seeds to grow and flourish. Instead of viewing stars as these isolated individuals who achieve greatness on their own, maybe we should be thinking about how we can create the conditions that allow them to reach their full potential.
Exactly. It's about moving beyond that individualistic mindset and recognizing that true greatness often emerges from a collective effort, from those supportive relationships and collaborative dynamics that foster growth and innovation.
It really challenges us to rethink our approach to success, both on an individual and a societal level. Maybe it's not just about competition and climbing to the top. Maybe it's about building each other up and creating a culture that values both individual brilliance and collective achievement.
Perhaps by creating environments that prioritize authentic collaboration and genuine appreciation for individual strengths, we might unlock a whole new level of collective potential. It's certainly a path worth exploring.
It really is. And that's what makes this deep dive so exciting. It's not just about learning facts, it's about sparking new questions and challenging our assumptions about the world. It's about empowering you to become those modern intellectuals that Juan Weigand envisions, individuals who are equipped to think critically, embrace complexity, and navigate the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century. So keep those fox minds active. Always stay curious and never stop questioning, exploring, and connecting the dots. That's all for this deep dive, but hopefully it's just the beginning of your journey into the fascinating world of ideas.